minor brushes in the law a couple of years ago in Pennsylvania involving his driving, and back then gave an address in Paterson, but we think he was actually living in Ohio. So now investigators are working on several fronts. They're trying to trace his movements into New York. When and where did he rent the truck? They obviously know that because they have the truck rental record, which is an important lead. They're talking to family and friends, and of course, he himself, who's in the hospital recovering from the wound. So a big question is, was he in touch with terror groups directly? Was he simply inspired? No way to know that yet. And Chris, the only reason that authorities are calling this a terror attack is what is obvious. The fact that he used a method of attack that has been used by other terror groups and that has been encouraged as a method of terror attack by ISIS, Al-Qaeda, and others. And secondly, that he jumped out and said Allah Akbar. But anything beyond that, we don't know of yet. We don't know what he's going to say in the interrogation. We don't know if the authorities have learned anything yet from his social media. It seems pretty early for that. That takes a lot of time to go back through his communications. But that'll be a big question. What was he looking at on social media? Where were his internet searches? Was he looking at ISIS propaganda? Was he aware of these other attacks? Seems likely that he was, but until they know that, they can't say for certain. So the reason they're calling this a terror attack is for the obvious reasons that you and everybody else can see.
Do you see any evidence here so far of any conspiracy or larger enterprise that led to this today?
No, everybody that we've talked to tonight doesn't see any indication of that. All we can tell you is what they know. It's early. They have no sign that anybody else was involved with this based on the very early work. But it's been now, what, 4 hours since this happened, a little over 4 hours. So it's still very, very early, but no sign of that yet.
As an Uzbeki, why would he have an animus toward the United States? Do we have it has anything to do with geopolitics over in the former Soviet Union, like those Chechens who created the horror at the Boston Marathon?
Way too soon to answer that question. A good question. You know, he was earning a living here in the United States, earning a living as a truck driver, seems to have been integrated into society. We've talked to one person who says he was a friend of his, saw no sign of this, didn't hear him spouting radical propaganda, seemed to be a friendly person. So that's just a complete cipher at this point.
Thanks so much. As always, Pete Williams, our Justice correspondent down in Washington. Joining us right now is Dr. Professor Darren Porcher, a former lieutenant.